Hello and welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. Today we are here recording episode number 94, and we will be discussing what we've learned in college and also during our time in study abroad. I think there will definitely be some overlaps, but also quite a few different things that Jared and I have experienced in undergraduate and also while studying abroad in Vienna, Austria. And this episode is just for you if you're curious about some of the things that we learned in college in the States and also while spending time abroad. And I will definitely be discussing the different things I learned outside of the typical classroom bookwork type of thing that, you know, college is supposed to be there for us. But I think there are a lot of other learning opportunities available outside of the classroom as well, and especially in the realm of study abroad. And I'm curious to see what Jared has to say today as well. So we're looking forward to bringing this episode to you. We hope you enjoy. And so without further ado, my good buddy Jared. What's going on, Jared?
Yes. What's up? How's it going?
Oh, jeez. The new drop already. I like it.
Hello, everyone. Spread a little love. Please follow us on Instagram, Untranslatable Podcast, Twitter, Untranslatable1, the number 1. You can email us, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. You can, sorry, you got thrown off. You can also spread a little love and give us 5-star reviews on iTunes and Stitcher. And also, you're welcome to give us, not on iTunes and Stitcher. That's only 5-star reviews. But on the other places, you can slide into those DMs. Send us email, give us some topic ideas. You can give us some constructive criticism, I guess. Or you can give us some untranslatables, which are idioms, sayings, proverbs, and the namesake of this podcast. Welcome back, buddy. You spent a couple days in Vienna.
Yeah, I got to spend the weekend there. Visited with a buddy of mine, my good friend David, and it was actually his first time ever in Vienna. So it was exciting for him. It was great for me, very nostalgic being back there. It's been, 2-3 months since I was there last with my parents over Christmas.
Not that long, but okay.
Right.
For some reason, I thought you were going to say, like, back when we were studying abroad. It's been years and years.
You know what's crazy, though? My mom actually posted something on Facebook earlier, which still blows, that sentence by itself blows my mind. But when my parents came to visit me in Vienna for the first time, that was 6 years ago.
Man, yeah. That it seems crazy. It does seem crazy.
That's a long time.
By the way,
that does seem wild.
I posted on Twitter yesterday. My mom doesn't have Twitter or Instagram, so how is she supposed to find out how much I appreciate her? I
her loss.
I
did see that. That was good.
I didn't even know you ever go on Twitter.
I randomly will be lurking.
Well,
check out our previous episode to find
I appreciate it. What were we talking about? Oh, right. So
Vienna.
Is David German?
Yeah,
and he's
David,
never. Yeah, okay. And he's never been to Vienna before.
So we were supposed to go a few years ago, and unfortunately, he just had some stuff come up, and we weren't able to make it. But thankfully, it was really great. And dude, the one thing that I don't know if maybe forgot was the right word, but just it was just so refreshing to be back in Vienna and just see all the amazing architecture, just the classy people, man. Like, I love people watching in Vienna. Like, people, they dress so nice. Dudes are walking around, in very nice, like, blazers. Refer to our episode with Joanna Jenkins if you want to see what a classy man in a blazer looks like.
That's right.
But yeah, so it was just nice, the people there, they really carry themselves well. It was good to hear Austrian German as well. I think, not to offend our German listeners out there, I'm gonna fire some shots right now.
Please,
but I think Austrian German it's just a little sweeter. It's a little softer, a little sweeter, a little smoother. And so yeah, and it was good. And of course, we did the usual have to have schnitzel while you're there. Of course,
right.
We went to a really good place called Schnitzelwirt, which is like more of a traditional kind of Austrian restaurant. Had schnitzel, had Ottakringer, which is a beer that's brewed in the 16th district of Vienna, which was wonderful. Also had Käsekreiner by the Opera House there, right in the 1st district. And of course, Jared, I had to get my Wiener Melange and my Sachertorte.
Of course.
As well.
You went to did you go to a cafe house?
Of course. Café
Nice.
Central is
Yes,
where we went.
that's a good one.
Yeah. Yep. And it was crazy though, dude. When we went there to ask for a reservation on Friday.
Mm-hmm.
And they were like, "Oh, sorry, no reservations for the weekends." But when we went in around maybe 12:30 or 1. There was a line out the door, people waiting. And this is way past breakfast time.
Right.
So yeah, but that place is just classic. And I got, of course, the classic Viennese breakfast, which was a Semmel, which is like a roll, an Austrian roll, Brötchen for our German listeners out there, a croissant, which was amazing. That honestly, dude, I've had croissants in Paris. I think the ones at Café Central are better. That's just my opinion.
All right.
And of course, a soft-boiled egg where you crack the top open and scoop it out with a little baby spoon.
Yeah.
And it was an all-around great time. David is also a great travel companion. And I have to say, traveling with him really reminded me a lot about traveling with you.
Okay.
Because we didn't really have things like planned, like super tight. It was more like, well, here are our options. And I realized I was doing the same thing with David as I was doing with you, which was, okay, we could do A, B, or C. And then we'd pick one, and then we'd go do it. And it's crazy, though, on Saturday, I think it was Saturday, Friday or Saturday, the weather was supposed to be rainy all day. It didn't rain, thankfully. It was Friday. The weather was good, and so we just went all over. And it turns out, dude, we walked 30,000 steps.
Man.
It was like 11 miles.
Yeah, I think it's more than that.
11.5, I think maybe.
Oh, is
or
that
12?
Because I think 10,000 is about 5 miles.
Well, here we'll consult the handy dandy health little thingy on my iPhone here.
So were you?
Yeah, it was great.
Were you doing classic tour guide also, where you're like giving some fun facts about stuff?
Yeah, of course.
Oh yeah.
But he was asking me a lot of really good questions that I did not have the answer to. Like we were walking around and he asked me, so when was kind of like the boom where they built all of these things? And it's like, it's hard to tell, because some of the buildings had been, around much longer. And the only really way you can tell is if you understand the different architectural styles, as long as they've stayed true to that time frame, which, they may have or may not. But just for your reference here, Jared, it's actually, 12.5 miles, 33,000 steps, almost 34,000. Okay, yeah,
but I believe you.
33,859. Yeah,
it's impressive.
It was crazy.
That's impressive.
Yeah, and so I took him to Schönbrunn, which is a must see when you're in Vienna. We went to the Hundertwasserhaus, which is what's fascinating about that. Did you ever go there while you were there?
I'm trying to remember what that is. I know the name. I need to look it up. Hundertwasser.
Oh wait, I think you may have gone because I think in our like cultural heritage of Austria class, I think we went there with Frau Schachermeyer.
No, I don't. I'm familiar with it, but I don't remember ever going there.
What's crazy about that building is, except for the windows and a couple of the like beams or pillars, there is no straight line on that building.
Oh,
which is pretty wild.
Yeah, I see one, but it looks like a pipe.
Yep. Yeah. So, but for all of our listeners out there who are more curious about things about Vienna, we will actually be doing another untranslatable travel series coming your way with our focus on Vienna. So stay tuned for that to hear more. But it was a great trip. The only thing that was not so great was on my way back, I took the train, and like an idiot, I didn't get a reservation because I never get a reservation. Well, this train was packed. Ooh. So I sat in like the between the connection between one train and the other. There's like a little spot where they have the bathroom and then like a little area for the baby strollers and stuff or luggage. So I sat on the floor there for 6 hours.
Ooh.
So that was awful. Not so fun. Yeah. Was not so fun. But hey, what can you do? When you don't make a reservation,
right.
Kind of SOL.
I guess I would never expect the train to get that full, Right. I assume that maybe they would book it like, well, I was going to say like they do an airplane, but airplanes always overbook flights.
That's also true. Good point.
I thought they'd book it where it's like, all right, we have this many seats, so we'll get this many people. But I guess they don't have to do that.
Right.
Did you like walk down the entire thing and it's like... Oh.
Well, see, that was the other thing. It was so crowded that there were people sitting in front of all the like entryways to get into the other wagons.
Right.
So I didn't even bother. I'm sure there would have been seats had I've explored, but I was just like, look, there are literally people sitting to the left of me and to the right of me, and I'd always peek my head over and try to look. Mm-hmm. And there were still people sitting there crowding the way. And, I had my backpack with, decent amount of crap in it, so I didn't really want to try to I didn't want to step over people and then smack them in the face with my Osprey travel backpack. That's not such a good look. So
yeah, I remember when we were going to or from Prague on the train. It was to Prague, I think. They had the passenger car thingies, where it's the little rooms in the Harry Potter train. I hate those.
Right.
It seems so I don't understand really the point of it. And also it makes those hallways so tiny that you can we were sliding past people and just getting all up in each other's grills, and it was
for sure
getting real personal.
It's super uncomfortable, and I feel like you could actually have more seats in the train if you didn't do it where you had the cabins facing each other. Because with the cabins facing each other, I think that's 4 seats on each side. So you got 8 seats, and I mean that takes up a decent amount of space. Whereas if you have them all facing forwards or in a different configuration, it's got to be way more economical in terms of fitting people in there.
I don't understand the benefit.
Yeah, me either, man. But it is what it is. It was a great time, though. I have to say, though, I have missed seeing your beautiful face and talking to you. It's it's good to be back, man.
Yeah, for sure.
We've taken a while, and but yeah, what's been going on with you? How's the Spanish learning been going and everything else?
The Spanish learning's been going well. We took a hiatus, not for any really particular reason. That's the one thing I'll say that's difficult about learning Spanish from a friend or something, is it does take a massive amount of discipline on both of our sides. We both have to be willing to do it. And so yesterday we had a lesson, and I think it was our 3rd maybe, and
nice.
It went well. I have more notes. Slowly getting into she my teacher, as I call her, but I got more notes going on, and
nice.
My teacher, she found a big sort of online textbook thing, and so we've been going through the textbook, and there's some assignments in there, so we'll do those.
Nice.
I'll do them, I guess, and she'll say if I got it right or wrong. Right. But she seems to really enjoy it, and I like it too. It's fun. It's exciting, and it's a good way to activate my brain in a way that I haven't. And as we've learned recently, it should probably help with my piano playing, and my piano playing should probably help with the Spanish learning. So
yeah,
it's all building on top of each other. I don't
really
have
the key
an official Spanish word of the pod, but I have notes here I can easily find and choose one.
I want you to pull one out for sure.
Okay.
The other thing is the key is, Jared, you have to learn some cool Spanish music for piano, and then you'll be speaking Spanish fluently.
I remember in high school, one of the songs I learned for trumpet was La Bamba.
Oh, there you go.
Mm-hmm.
Baila, baila, la bamba.
Was that Spanish?
Yeah.
Okay.
Of course. Dance. It means dance the la bamba.
Okay.
Uh-huh.
But yeah. So it's been going well. Still unemployed, but I don't want to get too much into it. I guess I probably shouldn't. But I've gotten some bites, so that helps. It's a depressing life, just staring at your phone all day, just waiting.
Right.
I've never looked at my emails so much. And Josh Van Lan posted something on Facebook, and I was like, God, it makes me mad how much I can relate to this. But it was some sort of meme where it's when you get an email from a company saying thanks for your application, however, and it was just this woman under just going no.
right. But hey, our boy's making moves.
Yeah.
I think that's safe to say.
Yeah.
I still feel confident in your journey, Jared.
It's looking like I won't be unemployed for the rest of my life as of right now. There's
right, for sure.
But yeah.
Most definitely.
So it's been going well. Piano's been going well. I'll talk about this probably I don't know exactly when. I can't do that math in my head. But I do have another Red Velvet Hall chamber concert coming up.
Oh, sweet.
And this
Very
one
nice.
is the guy that hosted it. He is a piano player himself, and this one is going to be. I want to pull it up just to make sure, but this one is going to be his composition. So he's a piano player, but
cool.
Jutstrom, previous guest, was not only. I don't think he was his piano teacher. I think he was actually a composing teacher. So,
cool. All right.
So, that's obviously how I heard about Gypstrom was from those concerts. And so now he's going to be playing some... let me just read it. In the past, half of my program would be classical and half jazz. This year will be related but different. Many of you know that I have developed a passion for composing. Certain composers have crept under my skin and into my mind and fingers. Above all, he loves this. I could tell he's loving this. Above all, two groups of classical composers, Robert Schumann and Johannes Brahms, the great German Romantic composers. On one hand, and the great French Impressionist Maurice Ravel and Claude, of course, Debussy. Have had the greatest influence on me. The first half of the program will feature short gems written by them. I'm not going to read the whole thing because he really got
he goes into it. Huh?
The second half, so he just explains why he's choosing and what kind of songs he's playing from them. And then the second half will feature my original music. However, not just music, but music that enriches a dramatic story, the beginning framework of a show that I have been living with for a few years. So I'm excited. My piano teacher, she recently got, she's getting LASIK surgery and eye surgery to remove some shit in her eyes. And so she really wants to go and she can't drive. And so I'm going to be not only going with her, but accompanying her, picking her up and driving her there. So that'll be fun.
Nice. I think it's cool, though, that you have that relationship with your piano teacher.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. And, I obviously I've been to many of these things with her, but usually I just meet her there. And given her circumstances, I would never be like I would never make up some excuse like why I couldn't take her.
Right, that'd be bad. And then you get there, and then she's there. That would be super awkward.
Oh my God, that would be the worst.
That would be really bad.
Turns out, really bad. I found out 5 minutes beforehand that I could go.
Right.
Yeah, no, that would be the worst.
Right.
And she really appreciates it. Obviously, you know how much she appreciates me and all that stuff. That sounds so bad, but how much she...
No, she's a great teacher, man. And so I think you got lucky. It's not all teachers are like that.
Yeah, that's true. It's literally the least I can do. So it'll be fun, and nice. I'll have a full report. Maybe I'll get some more podcast guests out of it. Who knows?
There you go. Sounds like that's a great way to.
Spread a little love.
I was yes, sir.
Like, I don't get
it. Oh my God, that drop is too good. That drop is just too good. Well, Jared, do you have any shout-outs to get us started?
I do, actually, yes. I'm glad you asked. Scotland, you and I are Michiganders.
Right.
And we're big fans of the 10-cent return. And Scotland is coming to dethrone the Michiganders of the...
Really?
Yeah. They are introducing an, as they say, ambitious 20-pence bottle deposit scheme. The Scottish government has outlined plans for a deposit return scheme for plastic drinking containers, cans, and glass. So already, that's way more than we do in Michigan. Because they're anyway, I'll keep going. People in Scotland will have to pay 20 pence or 20p deposit on every bottle or drinks. Bottle or drinks can they buy from... That's a fucked up sentence, I just realized.
That is.
For 20 pence deposit on every bottle or drink can they buy from shops under a new scheme unveiled by the Scottish government. Glass and plastic bottles, as well as aluminium and steel drink cans sold by any shop in Scotland will be covered by the deposit return scheme, the first national scheme of its kind in the UK. Scotland's Environment Secretary, Rosanna Cunningham, said there is a global climate emergency and people across Scotland have been calling rightly for more ambition to tackle it and safeguard our planet for future generations. I am therefore, this is quoted by her, delighted to confirm that I intend to implement a system covering PET, the most common form of plastic packaging. Nice. Aluminum and steel cans, glass and glass with a deposit set to 20p. And so, it includes not just, cans and bottles and stuff, but I think it also includes some, alcohol bottles, which is, the scheme is set to cover single-use bottles ranging from a 50-milliliter whiskey or vodka miniature to a 3-liter bottle of cider. Every can or bottle in a multi-pack of beer, water, or cola will also attract the 20p covered. So this is, I'd say, more extensive than Michigan. Michigan doesn't do water bottles.
Right.
If I'm not right, there's no water bottle I can think of that has a return on it.
I don't think so. No, I don't think so.
And they don't do booze. I can't think of any booze bottle that has a return on it.
Right. Yeah. By booze, you mean liquor.
Alcohol, yeah,
alcohol, yeah. Because beer
Right.
bottles you can return, but yeah, alcohol bottles you can't. Like liquor, rum, whiskey, stuff like that. Well, that's awesome. Great. Good on you, Scotland.
Yeah.
That's great.
Oh my gosh.
So yeah, that's really awesome.
Yeah. And it's a simple thing to do. They do something like that similarly in Germany. I know that.
Yeah.
For like, the bottles that you buy in like those crates, you can get like they put a deposit on that. But I think this is more comprehensive. And why not? Yeah, people like there's really no reason for people to complain about them costing more. It's like, well, just return it. And then you get a nice little sweet little, then it feels like you're getting money even though you paid for it to begin with.
Right, exactly. Well, speaking of things that are good for the environment, Jared, I actually want to give the U.S. a big shout out because our solar installations for solar panels has now hit the 2 million mark.
Wow. What do you mean 2 million? Like
there are now more
units?
than 2 million solar installations in the U.S.
Okay.
And that number is set to double in 4 years, according to Reuters. And so I think that's absolutely amazing. And they say here, and I quote, "We believe that the 2020s will be the decade that solar becomes the dominant new form of energy generation," says CEO Abigail Ross Hopper, according to Reuters. So yeah, so that's awesome.
I forgot to record again.
Oh no!
God damn it!
22 minutes
I'm
in.
recording now. Oh my God! What is wrong with me?
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Untranslatable Podcast. If you missed our beautiful faces, here they are, and we're giving some shout-outs.
Jesus Christ!
So
Slipping on gator piss.
so U.S. solar installations hit the 2 million mark. So I think that's amazing.
Yeah, I think in some states, I don't know which states. I know California's probably one of them, but there are a lot of states that are now like requiring new installations or new houses and buildings to come standard with that. And it's like, why not? Why not?
Right.
So that's cool.
And piggybacking on this, my other shout out, we got well, today really I'm going all out on the country front. We got the USA, we got Australia, our mates from down under, and they
and
are
Scotland.
also and of course Scotland. We have the Australian homes are turning to solar power in record numbers.
Okay.
So there's a record amount of new solar capacity that has been fitted to Australia's households and businesses in the first 3 months of this year, an increase of 46%, according to the energy consultants Green Energy Markets, which is
why
great.
not? There's so much sun going on. It's blazing down there.
Oh, for sure. And what's crazy about this, Jared, is it's calculated that customers will save, take a guess how much they'll save on their energy bills
Per year?
in the next decade.
In the next decade.
It's a big number.
30 million. That's probably low.
600 million in the next decade on their energy bills.
I believe it.
So,
And I think that what also will help with that is the introduction of electric cars too, and that becoming more of a thing. Because within that time, it's also set. There are systems in place for what they call V to G, which is vehicle to grid. Mm-hmm. So there are systems where you can plug in your car at work or wherever you are, wherever there's a plug, and the current goes back and forth. So during like those peak times, there are certain times during the day where energy usage is at a high and it costs more. What they'll do is the grid can pull energy from cars that are plugged in, and then you can have it set to charge your cars in the off-peak times at like middle of the night or something like that. So the cars will also work to lower the impact of the load on the grid. And I think mix of that and solar panels can make a big difference.
Oh, without a doubt. So yeah, big ups to Australia and the States for moving closer towards cleaner energy, and Scotland for also upping that 20p recycling power. And my last one goes out to, I'm not really sure who to shout this one out to, but it's an interesting story, so I thought I would add it into our segment today, which is, I guess the shout out really goes to the Shanghai Oriental Arts Center, where there was a concert performed by a North and a South Korean by North and South Korean musicians who performed together on the same stage, which this is a very historic moment. And so what's interesting is a South Korean violinist and North Korean singer held a rare joint performance in the hopes that it would bring the divided Koreas closer together via music, especially at a time of emerging tensions amid deadlocked nuclear diplomacy. So the violinist from South Korea is Won Hyung-jun, and the North Korean soprano singer is Kim Song-mi. And so they performed together, and I think it's really amazing that, first of all, it was their first concert with a musician from the other side of the Korean border, which is really amazing. And they met several times, apparently last year in Beijing, and agreed on a joint performance to help promote peace. So big shout out to the musicians and the Shanghai Oriental Arts Center for hosting them. And hopefully through music, we can bring a little bit of peace, maybe even, end this war between the two countries, which would be amazing.
Yeah. I wonder what it's like for the North Korean singer to go to other countries. And I mean, even being in China, which wouldn't be considered the freest of countries, in comparison to North Korea, it's definitely the freest of countries. I wonder what it feels like to go to these places and then have to go back to North Korea. Because I'm sure, in my head, I was like, oh, get out of there, run away, just don't come back. But I'm sure it's not that easy. Right. But yeah, man, that's cool though. I mean, that's good. And I think that even though, I wanted to just run away, I'm sure it's not realistic. That is still a step to, breaking down that barrier a little bit.
Absolutely. So
that's great.
Do you have any more shout-outs for us today, Jared?
That's all I got.
Then I think you know what time it is, my good friend. Oh. Mm-hmm. Well, Jared, after coming back from Vienna and speaking German the whole time, I figured I needed to give you some German untranslatables.
Yes.
I don't want to get your brain I know, right? I don't want to get your brain so engulfed in Spanish that you forget all of the hard work you've put into German. So here we go. That's right. Here we go, Jared. The first German untranslatable I have for you is
Austrian. In German, but it's
this
Austrian
is German.
Specifically?
No, this is German. Okay. I try to look for good Austrian ones, but most of them are just words. I couldn't find a ton of good phrases.
Okay.
So, mir stehen die Haare zu Berge.
So my hair stands to the mountains, essentially?
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Is that how you would say that? Mir stehen die Haare?
Yeah, I mean, I guess if you try to literally translate it, to me stands the hair to the mountains.
Right. But they're essentially saying my hair stands to the mountains.
Yeah.
I assume my first guess would be that you're frightened, because I think that's what the American brain would go to. Almost like the hairs on the back of my neck are standing or something like that. But I'm going to guess that's not it.
Hit that ham horn, my man. That is it.
Okay.
That is it.
Alrighty. Mm-hmm. I've got 3. 2 of them are Azerbaijani. Shout out to our friend Rahman. Yeah. The first one is Navadana Yok. And that literally translates to what you have, what you don't. What you have, what you don't. Maybe saying it like that will help a little bit. Yo, Chad, what you have, what you don't.
I'm drawing a blank on this one. What you have,
if I were to just walk up to you and say, yo, Chad, what you have, what you don't.
So, like, what's up?
Yeah.
What's good? What's good, player?
Yeah. It really sounds like something that, like, black people said in the 70s. Hey, player, what you have, what you don't.
All right. I can dig it. I like that. Okay.
I can dig it.
All right. Ooh. All right.
What you have, what you don't.
All right, Jared, I got another German one for you. Da haben wir den Salat.
Like, now we have the salad.
Or we have the salad there.
Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. That's actually, yeah. Okay. Like, now we're talking?
Nope.
Like, now we're cooking with gas? It's like,
nope.
Okay.
Nope. I would say the opposite of that, maybe.
Oh, it's like we don't understand each other? We're not on the same page?
Which would mean that we have a
misunderstanding, argument.
More basic than that. More basic than that.
Hatred for one another?
No, not so deep. This is let me give you an example. Like,
all right.
Okay. So say I get on the train to come back to the Czech Republic from Vienna. Mm-hmm. I'm looking around to find a seat, and they're all reserved. And I'm like, and I say Scheiße, which is German for shit. I say Scheiße, da habe ich den Salat.
Oh, like I'm screwed.
Yeah, or now we have a problem.
Oh, okay. Would you say that like if you're like arguing with someone and they like slapped you in the face and it's like da haben wir Salat?
I don't know. Maybe I have no idea.
All right,
it's a good question.
My next one is also Azerbaijani, and it's tu pur do you nu yalamak, and it means lick your own spit.
Is that like taste of your own medicine?
No, but I like where your head's at.
Okay.
It's similar though. So I'll give you an example, I guess.
Okay.
So say if anyone's listened to more than an episode of this, they know I've been unemployed for a while, and once you're very encouraging when the microphones are on. I was gonna say when the cameras are on, but I barely do that apparently.
Roasting yourself today. I like it.
My microphone is on. You're very encouraging when the microphones are on, but as soon as we turn it off and stop recording, you're like, you idiot, you're not going to find a job. You're useless. Like, hey, you're going to be licking your own spit one day. Like, I'll find a job.
Like, you're going to be, like, I'll show you. Like, I'll prove you wrong.
Yeah, essentially. It's like eat your words. But that's essentially what that...
Eat your words. Okay.
That's the English untranslatable would be eat your words, which is like, I'll show you or like, I'll prove you wrong or something.
Right. Oh, for sure.
So yeah, to lick your own spit.
There you go. Well, Jared, I did not come to disappoint. I do have a Czech one for you. Paráda. So here we go. Jeden za 18, druhý bez dvou za 20, which means one is worth 18 and the other 20 minus 2.
Oh, it's like same difference.
Oh, very good. Very, very good. And I picked this one today because I think some of the things we'll be discussing in our main segment about what we learned in college and also what we learned in study abroad, there are a lot of parallels. Obviously, there are some differences, as I noted, but there will definitely be some parallels as well.
Yeah, for sure. I'm trying to think. We can just move on. I don't have to do my third one. I could save it for later because that was a great lead.
Sounds good. So we'll get into our main topic today. A little reflection on what we've learned in college and also in study abroad. So I guess I'll start off with one of the first things that I think I really learned in college, Jared, was I think in college there's a different level of openness and friendliness, and it's just normal and acceptable and appropriate to just get to know everybody.
Right.
Which I think really sharpens up the social skills quite a bit, and can really... I've always been a very extroverted person, but I think that college still was very helpful for me to learn how to interact with people, how to make friends, relationships, networking, things like that. Yeah.
No, I'd agree with you. Oh, by the way, I've gone to a few parties recently, all because of my girlfriend. This has nothing to do with me.
Nice.
This is more just like, hey, would you go to this party with me? And I'm like, I guess. And
you sound so excited.
I really need you there. It's like, it's weird because it doesn't bother me that I don't talk to people, but I feel like people are like, who's that weirdo?
Right, who's that guy? Yeah.
There were a couple of people that showed up to this party I went to the other day, and this girl was just going around saying, like, introducing herself. Actually, a couple of people, not just this one girl, were just going around introducing herself to everyone at the party. I was like, man, and for a hot second, I was like, I wish I could do that. I was like, you could.
Yeah, you totally could.
Like
Work in the room. I like that.
Yeah, it was great. But anyway, I think that's right. For a bit, I thought I was going to, when you first brought this up, I thought I was going to struggle to find the benefits of a classroom studying abroad, but I thought it was pretty easy. Mm-hmm. And you make a good point about the networking thing. I think that's very true, and it's a more inviting environment. I felt like study abroad kind of felt more like camp, you know? Like it was very, it
or
felt
a long
very
vacation.
clicky. And it felt very clicky.
Yeah.
There were a lot of groups. Like there were people there that like I had no interaction with just because like I was never around them. And there was also a big split between, not fully, let me be clear, but to me it did feel like there was a big split between the people, like the musicians and the German speakers.
Yeah.
And
which makes sense, though. People tend to congregate to people of similar, interests and such.
So the thing about the classroom is you're naturally, around people that are all on your level because that's how the classroom works.
Right. In theory. Yeah.
Right. Well, that's true. My first German class was German 201. I tested into this class. I don't know how I tested into it. I never got below like a 95 on any of the tests. It was so easy.
Right.
But yeah, no, yeah, I agree with you. Like it's more of an inviting environment, the classroom, than the study abroad situation was. I mean, it was inviting, but I felt a little limited in the people that I interacted with just because like I had a group and I kind of stuck with it for the whole time.
Right. AKA Liebhardsgasse 28.
Yeah, that's for sure.
28 or 26?
Oh, that's your apartment.
Right, I should remember. 26, yeah.
All I remember was mine was Margaretengürtel, but I don't remember, or Margaretengürtel, excuse me, but I don't remember what my address was.
Right. But see, I think the difference too with college and studying abroad is with study abroad, there are also other limitations that might make it a bit more difficult to meet friends. If you're in a bigger city, it may just not be super feasible to hang out with the same people all the time because they might live on the other side of the city. Whereas, we went to a small enough school where everything was walkable, and all the freshmen, it blows people's minds when I tell them this, especially when they went to like a big school. All the freshmen lived in one dorm where we went for undergrad, which made a big difference. I remember this was one of my highlights of college, our first semester as freshmen, just leaving the dorm room open and just chilling in your room, and people would come in and you'd meet all these cool people. I would jam with all these really cool people. Shout out to Paul Lewis, Jane Finkel as well.
Did you play with Alan? He played bass.
Oh, and Alan as well. Yeah, I jammed with Alan quite a bit. He's such a fantastic bass player. So it was a lot of fun, and I think college is one of those weird times in your life where, especially as a freshman, when you're a first-year college student, everybody's in the same boat for the most part.
Right?
You might know a few people,
like
or you might even
high school
live
or something.
Right, but overall, it's just great, and there's so many exciting people to meet. A lot of great relationships you can start. Platonic or romantic, depending on what you're looking for.
You betcha.
And I think that leads me to my second point, though, about what you learn in college. I think I learned my partying limits pretty quick in college. I don't think I can say that about everybody, but I think college teaches you to manage or not manage, your social life with your academic life, which is important as you get older and you start working full time. Because if you can't manage both those, how are you going to keep a steady job?
Yeah. I mean, I'm the same way. Like, I definitely had like a few nights where it's like you wake up the next morning and it's like, what the hell just happened? But like as you get older, those become fewer and farther in between.
Oh, absolutely,
for sure. So back to specifically the language part of it, though, because I want to talk about some classroom stuff that I think I didn't get as well in studying abroad in Austria. We both studied abroad in Wien, for those of you that don't know. I think language-wise, our teacher, Professor Perry, for the most part, was more critical than studying abroad in Austria. I think he was more critical of like, for example, obviously like writing papers and stuff, and even speaking. I think he was quicker to correct and more critical when it came to writing papers. So I actually think that as far as the writing aspect and the sort of the technical aspect of the language, I think learning in the classroom in America was way more useful than studying abroad. Now, obviously, when it came to studying abroad, it allowed me to speak more consistently and become a more comfortable speaker. But I mean, I'm not going to say I didn't improve. I improved probably a bunch.
You did.
But I definitely improved more as far as critical and grammar goes in the classroom. I think a lot of our German teachers well, granted, we had one German teacher, then a few classes that were in German, but they weren't German teachers. I feel like they were less critical in Austria.
Well,
also,
right.
because some of the classes we were in, the ones that were not our German class, and when we were in Austria, had a mixed bag of German speakers. I mean, some of those, like at the cultural class, some of those people could barely speak German. I mean, same with the music one, for that matter.
Right.
Some of the people in those classes could barely speak German.
Right.
And so I think they had to be a little bit more or less critical to be able to appeal to the wider group of people.
Absolutely. Yeah, exactly. And make it accessible to all the students who are also willing to take that risk and try to challenge themselves, which I think is the beauty of college and study abroad as well, is taking risks and challenging yourself. But I also want to discuss the language part, because that's a really interesting point. And I agree with you that it's definitely more critical and I think a lot more grammar-based, although I started at 301, so I was a couple semesters ahead of Jared, and it was less grammar-focused.
Right.
Then it's more content.
Right into writing papers.
Right. And what's funny is I remember after I graduated from undergrad, I looked through my laptop, and I had more essays written in German than I did in English.
I did the same thing, and I've deleted a lot of them since.
You should have kept them.
I thought about it, but I was like, I'm not going to look at these again. It's because a lot of them were I was in a film class in German in America, and we had to actually, this is not just for the film class, this is also for the other one I was in that was just literature based. We had to write what Perry called a laser journal, which is just like a reading journal.
Right.
After every reading assignment we had, and obviously every class, or at least once a week, we got some sort of reading assignment. And so like once a week I was writing at least like a page or half a page or something, at least a couple paragraphs in German.
Right.
And it definitely made me a much better, that's another thing I actually wrote down. The classroom made me a much better writer.
Yeah,
and
I would agree.
And that was, there was a lot of writing going on in Austria, but as I mentioned, they were less critical to the grammar, especially in the non-German classes. So like the cultural class, it was in German, but she was way less critical about grammar. She was pretty lenient as far as grammar went.
Right, but she was critical about the content. You do have to give her that.
Yes.
It's just, what you're looking for, because like you said, that's a culture class. It's not a German class. So, and I mean, to be honest, I think that's actually really good on them that they're not super critical about all the grammar and everything.
Right.
Because it would be unfair to the students who have lower levels of German proficiency. What I will say, though, what I got out of being in Austria as a language learner was I picked up more on the subtleties of things, because we had an amazing teacher, Frau Sarnet, who really did an amazing job, one, in stimulating really interesting conversations in class.
Yeah.
And number two was teaching us a lot of useful, practical German. Whereas I think the grammar is good in terms of academia. But I think I learned more colloquial spoken German and got so much more confident in just speaking German with people that it made a big difference. But I also have to say, I think you and I were also, as they say in German, Ausnahmen, or exceptions, in that we were pretty serious about speaking German while we were there. We were two of the few people I remember at our orientation in Mariazell actually speaking German together.
Oh, granted, I'm sure of it.
Right, and granted, we didn't do it 100% of the time, but we did it quite a bit. And I remember one of the nights I was staying up to message or Skype with my parents or something, and my Austrian RA Thomas and his friend Max walked by, and I asked one of them. I said, bist du Thomas or whatever? Are you Thomas? And he was like, yeah. And they introduced themselves, right? And I had spoken German with them, and I think they were both kind of impressed, in that I was so gung ho about trying to learn and practice and speak my German.
I think even people that were there that were good German speakers, a lot of them weren't that interested in it as we were. You're right. We're definitely exceptions on that part.
Right.
And that was really a legitimate goal for me. I was like, I want to come back speaking like I used to when I lived there, and I think I actually did.
If not better, maybe.
Oh, probably. I think some of my best German that I spoke was not even in Austria,
Right.
But I think it was when you came back from Austria and we were back at college in Albion in Michigan together. I think that was probably some of the best German I spoke. Because even back then, we spoke a lot of German together.
We communicated basically only in German unless other people were around.
Yeah, I mean, especially. Sometimes especially if other people were around.
That's a good point. It was a good little secret language. I wish I could go back and read through our texts and stuff.
Yeah.
I still have some pictures of Snapchats that you sent me, and those are also in German. I screenshotted those bad
getting
boys.
out of bed first thing on a Sunday morning with your hair all over the place, and you're like, eye squinty.
Right? Oh, good times. But see, that's another thing that's great about college is I think college... Yes, obviously there's a ton you can learn in the classroom that will help you professionally, academically, whatever. But I think college also lays a very good kind of foundation for putting you in a position where you're confronted with things you're not used to, you need to adapt to them. And I think going from Albion to Vienna, I think those first 2 years at Albion laid a great foundation for you and I in terms of social skills, terms of academics to prepare us to really flourish while we studied abroad.
Yeah, I would say so. Yeah. I mean, I bet you it would have been a very different experience if we would have gone like the second semester freshman year or something like that.
Oh, for sure. I don't think I would have been able to handle it, to be honest with you.
Yeah. No, I'm with you. I'd say one thing that both the classroom and studying abroad gave me, but in different aspects, is the better understanding of cultural or historical media or books. I think both studying abroad and Albion gave me different aspects of that. So when we studied abroad, we had very practical cultural experience just through living there. But also, we did get a lot of historical stuff through the culture class and through the music class. I mean, there's so much I learned from... I mean, I think it's safe to say, I don't know about you, but the class with, what's her,
Schachmeier?
Yeah, that was probably one of the best classes there. I mean,
that was amazing.
Far. We took
Absolutely
a field
amazing.
trip. There was twice a week. We took a field trip.
Nope, it was once
every
a
week. Yeah. Oh, I thought the class was twice a week.
No,
we took a field trip once a week.
It was once a week, and we did half
Every
the class
other
in the morning.
Oh, right.
Half the class in the morning, we learned about what we were going to go see. It was every Wednesday morning, because otherwise I would not have had to get up early. That's the only reason why I remember it. But yeah, it was every Wednesday morning. We would get to campus at I think like 8:30 or 9, and the class went till like noon. It was like a 3-hour class.
Yeah, it was 3 hours. Yeah.
Yeah.
And that was the best. I mean, that was the best way to learn about historical stuff. And you mentioned earlier during the Untranslatables or something, you were talking about the different periods in during European history.
Right.
And that's when you can really put like a practical understanding to like the Gothic period, or the Romantic period.
Right.
And she would specifically say like, we're learning about the Gothic period today. Then she would have like 3 or 4 different Gothic style places that we would go to, and she'd explain why it was this or why it was that. And I feel like it would be impossible to really understand that stuff just through books or just through like pictures. It's like once you're there and she's pointing stuff out and you're like actually looking at it with your real eyes, it's like, oh, like it clicks easy.
Oh, but for sure.
That's not to discount Albion, because I took one of the classes was all about literature, another one was all about film, and I think Perry did a very good job, our German teacher, of teaching us about historical culture through that. So like I learned a lot about I've probably lost a lot of it since, but I learned a lot about the different German periods through like silent movies was a huge one.
Right. Yeah.
Germans had a lot of popular silent movies that were creepy. And it talked a lot about industrialization and their sort of, and some of them were like how they dealt with different periods of abundance or like depression style, and so it got a great experience with that, and same experience with the books too. And I think that was something that I think would be harder to do studying abroad, especially with the wide variety of like in our culture class. There's no way we could have it based off of reading novels, because the variety of level would just make it impossible for some people to even keep up.
Right. Well, yeah, I think the other thing is, too, when you learn a foreign language in the country where they do not speak the language, versus where it's the mother tongue, there are different things you need to take advantage of. And so in the States, because German isn't spoken everywhere, you can use things like novels or film or whatever. Whereas I think when you are in the country where they speak the language, you need to go out in the real world and use the language in a real world way, which I think is a really good segue, because in college, especially if you study a foreign language, you get a lot of just random knowledge, right? From literature, history, grammar, maybe a little bit of culture as well. But you really put a lot of that knowledge into practice once you get there, which I think is so amazing about it as well. And I think the other thing with college as well is that I think it's also important to say it's definitely not for everyone. But at the same time, I think that there is so much you can learn from it that if you're on the fence about it, I think it's definitely worth doing it. And the thing that I loved about college as well is you can really try a lot of new things and try to, really figure out who you are as a person, right? And I actually remember coming into Albion thinking I was going to do German and business, actually. And I took an econ class, and I hated it. We
could have been in all the same classes together.
We could have. Watch out, Brad.
That's exactly
Watch
what
out.
I did.
Right?
Oh, man.
Oh, that's funny. I hope he does hear that one. We'll see. I don't know if he listens, but that would be hilarious. But, yeah, I mean, the thing is, like, I took an econ class. I took an econ class. I can't even speak English now. And it wasn't for me,
Yeah.
And I think I do have the personal skills that I could do something maybe business related, but just not finance or econ related,
Yeah,
But
I mean, everyone can be in a business related job. Yeah, those classes are tough, and some of them I took. Some of them were above my head, and I graduated with the econ major. Like a lot of them turned into like full on calculus classes, and I was like, I did not sign up for this.
Right.
But as far as working in like an office and doing business related stuff, it's just you learn that stuff. Like most of the stuff I've excelled at, I learned on the job rather than stuff I learned from school.
Oh, definitely. Which still is kind of like going and studying abroad, right?
Yeah.
A lot of the stuff that, and there's certain things you learn and you grow from when you study abroad that is not the same when you study on campus. Now, obviously, if you move across the country, then in a way it's kind of a mini study abroad, but you're still in the same country, speaking the same language, maybe a fairly similar culture. Whereas study abroad, for me, it's kind of like for experimentation and finding out who you are, it's like you're doing that on steroids when you study abroad, because you're moving somewhere new, you don't know anybody, or if you're lucky, you have an awesome friend like Jared there with you to have an awesome time.
Unless Perry doesn't let us live together.
Which, that was hilarious. Our German professor didn't want us to live together because he thought we would speak too much English, that's fair. I'll give him that. That's totally fair.
He has a valid point for the normal man. But not for someone like you
and I.
We
are not normal men. That is for sure. Far from it. But exactly. But yeah, so I mean, for me, it was just such a big learning experience. And when you study abroad, you develop a new kind of independence. Because especially if you go across the ocean and you're on another continent than your parents, because you have to figure shit out yourself.
Yes.
Your parents can't really do that for you when you're in a foreign country. And I remember... Did I ever tell you the story about when I went to go get my residency permit, what happened?
I don't think so.
So I went there with my roommate Ian, who was supposed to also be there for the entire year. Or AKA Tyrone. We all had nicknames at our apartment. And good times. And so what was funny, though, was that so in Austria, first of all, Austria in a lot of ways is similar to Germany in that it's very bureaucratic, and you have to follow the steps exactly how they want, and blah, blah, blah. So I sent in my visa. It's all good. Went to the consulate, talked to the woman at the consulate. She said everything was fine. I paid the fee.
Just a quick question.
Yep.
Did you have to do this because you were there for a year?
Yes.
Okay, that's why.
Yeah, you have to get a residency permit instead of like a student visa, like a 6-month visa.
I'm sorry,
so it's a little bit. You're good.
Wondering why?
Yeah, because you had a visa. I remember you had a visa stamped in your passport. I had a card. I had an actual ID card.
Like an ID card, okay.
Yeah, exactly. That said Aufenthaltsbewilligung, which is a beautiful German word for residency permit. And so anyways, and I found out through a friend of mine, Christina, they're actually becoming harder and harder to get now, which is a bummer because Austria is a great place. But anyways, so I paid for, my residency permit. They take your thumbprints and you pay, and then in theory, you're all good, right? They've processed your documents. if there would have been an error, they would have told you everything was fine, right? So then the way it works at the magistrate in Austria, you pull a number. But it's not like a usual place where you pull a number and then, it'll be 001, 002, 003. They pop up randomly. So you could be waiting there for 5 minutes, 30 minutes, 3 hours. Just depends on when your random number pops up on the screen. And so I go there with Ian, and we just got one, and we both went together. And so the woman gives him his residency permit, signs a paper saying, I've received my residency permit. He's good to go. I see her open up my file. I see my card on the top of the file. No
so
notes,
close.
no nothing on it. And then she asks me in German, do you have 4,000 euros in an Austrian bank account? I was, 20 at the time? Of course
I'm
I
not
didn't
rich.
have, right? Of course I don't have 4,000 euros in an Austrian bank account. And so she says, yeah, in order for you to receive your residency permit, you need 4,000 euros in an Austrian bank account. And
But she didn't ask Ian that.
And so he was sitting in the room with me with his residency permit in his hand. And we tried to explain to her, look, we both, have sent in all the paperwork, our parents' bank statements, everything. So, we were being supported financially by our parents during our study abroad. That's fairly normal. And so I asked her, I said, could you please go talk to your supervisor or your boss or whatever and double check? And she says, sure. So she leaves. And I said this very politely, all in German, was trying to be as nice as possible. You don't want to piss these people off, have your residency permit right there.
So close.
And so she comes back 10 minutes later and she says, yeah, I'm very sorry, but you need to get, you need to have So I called my parents immediately and I was furious. And I also had 3 weeks left on my regular tourist visa.
Right.
So it was starting to get close. And so I called the director of IES where we were studying, told him what happened, and I was talking to Helmut, who's this super chill, awesome Austrian dude. He's like, Chad, don't worry. It's all going to be fine. And he calmed me down. And so then I went a couple weeks later, and turns out I go into the room, and it was the woman who I had initially met with who I had paid and done my thumbprints. The one who said, yeah, everything's good.
Right.
Next time you come back, you can get it. She hands me my residency permit and says, einen schönen Tag noch. Have a nice day.
I think a lot of that just has to do with, clearly, but a lot of it has to do with who you get, for sure.
Yep.
Some of those people want to be like the super bureaucrats.
Right, exactly. But see, that really taught me, I still obviously get worried and a little stressed out, but I think, one, traveling with you was a big help to chill me out a bit. And two, that whole experience has made me much more relaxed dealing with bureaucracy, which can be a very stressful thing when you study abroad, or even when you're dealing with bureaucracy on campus as well. It's important to be patient, be polite, and a lot of times a nice gesture will go a long way.
Yeah, because a lot of those bureaucratic situations, same in the U.S. when you're dealing with passport stuff, is a lot of it is at the discretion of the person at that desk. And so, there are rules and stuff, but a lot of it has to do with who you got and how friendly you are to them. And so, I think that goes a long way. That is a good point, though, that I brought up as well. As far as one of the downsides of studying abroad is that it is expensive.
Oh, for sure.
And it's unfortunate that, at least I believe for our German major, we had to do it. And it's not unfortunate that we had to do it.
A semester, yeah. Well, it's unfortunate that it's
limiting
it's a
to a lot of
financial
people.
burden. Exactly.
Right.
Exactly.
We're lucky that our parents could help us, but a lot of people in college, don't have that, or they already are on massive amounts of financial aid and loans and stuff. And it's like, and do I want to add this to that?
Right.
But yeah, it's pricey to participate. Living expenses are pricey, and if you want to travel, or not even if you want to travel, but a lot of times just getting there and back, is very expensive.
Can be very expensive, absolutely.
And it is prohibitively expensive to a lot of people.
Absolutely.
And I think we're lucky, and all the people that are there were lucky, but we also had to do it to even get our major.
Right.
And it's if I can't afford this, I can't get a German major? It's no, you can't.
Right. But I think there are also probably ways around it. I thought at Albion you could also do a year in the international house if you couldn't afford study abroad.
Oh, maybe.
could have been. But
I already knew I was going to do study abroad. So.
Me too. I still, in hindsight, really wish you could have spent the whole year with me there. Man, that would have been great.
I mean, I think that was just like a fear thing on my part,
Right.
And it felt like, it seems foolish now, but it felt like so long to be away from Albion for a year.
And that's a good point. I think FOMO, or fear of missing out, is a big thing for study abroad, because once you get kind of ingrained in the college campus culture and you have your friends and your stuff, you have clubs or sports or whatever, there is a big fear of, well, what am I missing? But at least when I was in Vienna, especially that second semester after you were gone, I mean, dude, every day just hopping on the tram and seeing all the beautiful architecture kind of made me forget it, I mean...
Oh, yeah. I mean, I had the FOMO. That's a perfect way to explain it, because I think that's definitely what it was. It's like, I think I'm going to come back and my friends are going to be like, who's this guy?
Right. Fuck you, Jared. You left us for a year. I'm not going to be friends with you anymore.
But I think within maybe a month of studying abroad, I was like, shit, I should have stayed for a year.
Right. Yeah.
Yeah, but then it's so funny too, because the irony is, at that point, I have the FOMO of missing, the FOMO of missing out, the FOMO of not being in Austria,
right?
Where it's like, oh, my friends are some of my friends are going to be there for a year, and I got to go back already. It's like there's so much more I could see and do.
Oh, for sure. And a semester for study abroad is so short, especially if you're having a good time. Now, some people go to study abroad and it's not for them; they're miserable, and then a semester can feel like an eternity.
I felt like I was just getting into it.
Yep. Well, see, that's the issue. And I remember coming back for Christmas to visit my parents and come back to Michigan. And I remember thinking I felt so bad for my roommates who were leaving, because for me, it felt so quick, but I knew I was coming back. Right. And it was crazy going back to Albion and seeing everyone before I went back to Vienna. But I didn't feel bad about it. I was so excited to get back. And that's the thing. I think the other thing about study abroad is, yes, you will miss your friends on campus, but you'll make so many new ones, and some of them will be friends for life.
Yeah.
I mean, I'm still in contact with Thomas to this day. Mm-hmm. Ian here and there, Will here and there, my roommates from Austria.
You just saw one a couple weeks ago in Prague, or in... Christina, she's studied abroad.
Oh, duh!
You just brought her up.
Exactly. I was thinking more of my roommates, but yeah, exactly, exactly. So I think that's the other thing. And with study abroad, I think you can make some really meaningful relationships, lifelong friends. Maybe you'll have a study abroad fling like I did, get your heart broken. I think it's part of the process, and I think it's worth it. If I could go back, I think I would have done things a little differently. Which that would be a good episode. We should do an episode on that. If we could go back to study abroad, knowing what we know now, what we would do, that might be interesting.
Oh man, that might get messy.
I think it'd be worth it. It might get messy, but I think it'd be worth it. The other thing, though, too, about studying abroad is I think you gain a newfound appreciation for your college campus, your home country, and your friends and family.
Yes.
And it can be good and bad. I definitely became much more critical about the United States after spending a year abroad. It makes a big difference.
Mm-hmm. But I can also relate to that, having lived in Germany for 4 years. When it was time for me to come back, I both missed it because it was 10th grade, or I knew I was sad because it was 10th grade. I was close to finishing high school. Right. Obviously, I had made friends for 4 years, and they were good friends. That sucked. But at the same time, weirdly, I had a mature moment at 15 or whatever, 16, where I felt like it was time. I felt like I was ready to go back, and I had a different sort of appreciation for America, especially after having lived in Germany for 4 years. It's like a lot of those, a lot of the conveniences of America, whether it be free refills or being able to hop in a car to go places, a lot easier. Having a license at 16 rather than having to wait till 18 and still probably not driving really because it's so expensive in Germany.
Right.
I appreciated so much of those things so much more. And I think that it just gives, this is the same thing with studying abroad, but it just gave me, and I assume you, a better perspective of college.
For sure.
And America in general. And not just college, but the people that we're friends with, I feel like. Because there is something to being comfortable and having to quote unquote start over. It's kind of a dumb thing to say, start over, but like make friends again.
But it kind of is. It's reestablishing those connections and relationships. And the thing is, after I studied abroad, I kind of figured out who my real friends were on campus, because you realize who's actually.
Shout out to me.
Right? Oh, for sure. I mean, you were number one anyways. But yeah, I mean, it's really easy to figure out who your true friends are after you study abroad, because the people who you just hung out with because it was convenient kind of start to do other things and you come back. Yeah. And yeah, the other thing too that
it focuses your friend group to your real friends, not just the people that were your next door neighbors in your dorm or whatever.
Exactly. And we spent a ton of time together senior year after I came back.
Oh yeah,
and pretty much every day. Every day we spent.
Remember we would do 100 push-ups a day?
Those were the days. I don't even think I could do 100 push-ups right now.
I was crazy. Sore.
Right? Yeah. Maybe we should start doing that. But anyways, another thing though too that can happen during college, but I think will definitely happen during study abroad, is things will go wrong, right? Mm-hmm. My first day of classes, as I went to come home, I got on the tram going the opposite direction I was supposed to be going in. Very stupid, easy mistake, but it took me 40 minutes to get home. And for someone who it's your first time in a new country and you speak the language, but it's a different dialect than what you're used to,
right? And
everything. It really teaches you that look, it'll be all right. Don't panic. You'll figure it out. And I think that has really given me a lot of extra discipline as I've gotten older. I don't think I would have applied to some of the jobs I've applied for in different countries, especially in the Czech Republic, had I have not spent time abroad.
I think I can relate. One, I think when I lived in Germany, a lot of this also is familiar to living in Germany because it is, putting yourself into a completely different situation and, making new friends and stuff.
Right.
But that's really when I started wandering and being a good wanderer. I had a bicycle, obviously.
Right.
And I would just go for as far as I could and then just be like, I don't know where I am, but I know I've been going straight for the past hour. So I'm not lost.
Right.
And so that made me way more comfortable to get lost, when I was in Austria too. But I think that's also how you learn, that's how you learn about a new place too, is by ending up in places that you didn't expect. Not just being like, I'm going to go here or I'm going to go here, but being like, oh, how did I get here? Oh, that's cool. Where am I? Kind of stuff.
Right.
And
I think, sure.
I think that's a useful skill to have.
And I think another thing in terms of through all the experiences, whether it's in the classroom or outside of the classroom in college, or abroad, studying abroad, is you will never be the same again. I mean, it really changes you as a person. When I think back of who I was...
Sounds cheesy, but I agree.
It's true. I mean, it's super cliche and super cheesy. Although, let's be honest, out of the two of us, I'm the one that usually brings the cheesiness anyway. So I guess exactly. It has to come from me. But the thing is, it's so true. Looking back when I was a freshman versus who I was when I graduated, I was a completely different person. I had a newfound sense of confidence. My German skills were so much better. I was more well-traveled. I had some stories I could tell and things like that. And it's just great. It's a great experience overall. And I think everybody, if they have the opportunity to study abroad and study at a college or university, it's definitely worth it in the long run. Even though you may be in some financial debt for a while.
Yeah. I mean, even someone who, got a lot of support from my family, I had internships and jobs that were all paid. And it was definitely put a hurt on my bank account by the time I got back. But I think it was worth it. And it's not really, that money wasn't that important for 20-year-old me or whatever it was.
Right.
Shit, I had something I was going to say and I forgot. Oh, you mentioned that it, gave you a newfound confidence and stories and stuff. When I got back from studying abroad, I was too hesitant to talk about it. Okay. I had friends and family that were more friends. Family, it was easier to talk about, but I had friends that would be like, I have no idea what you did when you studied abroad, or I have no idea what went on over there. Right. It's because I just so did not want to be that person where it's like, oh, you guys are doing that? I mean, in Austria, they would never do that, or
right, sure,
or someone like our friend, let's just say, KW, who came back with you'll know who I'm talking about when I explain this, who came back with a Scottish accent, after studying abroad.
Oh God, yep.
Like he's Madonna or something.
Right.
I mean, obviously, I'm not going to come back like, hello, how, like with the German accent.
What are you doing? Why aren't we eating dinner right now? What is this?
Yeah, do you have any Schnitzel or Kartoffelsalat?
Yeah, I really don't want to have this food here. I would prefer to eat the potato salad and also please some more Bratwurst or some Käsekreiner, bitte. Yeah, I agree with you. You don't want to be that snooty person coming back from study abroad.
Or like, now America sucks because you've lived in Europe for 4 months or whatever.
But a lot of people do really feel that. You know, I didn't feel like America sucked. I just felt
But that also wasn't your first experience abroad.
Right. The other thing...
How? What do you mean?
I mean, I felt like when I came back that I didn't completely belong at Albion, but I also didn't completely belong in Austria. Like, it's kind of this weird little... You're like, now you feel kind of connected to Austria and Austrian culture, but then at the same time when you come back... Like I've told people when I'm abroad, I feel way more American than when I'm actually back in the States. When I'm back in the States, I feel so much less American because I don't mean to sound like a dick here, but because I speak, foreign languages and I've done some traveling, there are a lot of Americans who can't say that.
When I first got back, sorry.
Well, all I wanted to say as well is like your sense of identity really changes as well, and I think that's probably why I felt slightly out of place.
When I first got back from Germany, I had a good friend, Lance. I went to a Catholic school, and so we became good friends because we had chapel. I was Catholic school, so we had mass twice a week, and it was we had assigned seats by your name. His last name was Miller, my last name's Miner, so we sat right next to each other, and he would always joke. I'm not sure. Actually, if this was a joke, I felt like a joke to me because I couldn't understand it. But he'd always joke saying how he thought I was British or like how I'm British. And it was funny to me because it was like I still speak like an American, but I think it was just commenting on the fact that like I think there was something to that, and there was something to me having to reacclimate to being an American in America. After living in Germany for 4 years, not just 4 years though, like the most like integral part of my life, it kind of like 11 to 15, where you're really like trying to like thinking that you're becoming your own person.
Right.
And so I think there really was something to me like having to get back into and get comfortable with like American shit again.
Mm-hmm. Oh, and for sure.
It definitely took a while. And so I don't know. I honestly, to this day, I still don't know if he was joking or seriously thought I was British. Right. But like, in theory, I understood where he was coming from.
Yeah. And I also want to go back real quick to what you mentioned about not wanting to talk about your experience. I think there tends to be two types of people that come back from study abroad. Ones that don't want to talk about it because they don't want to be that person.
Yeah.
Who's bragging about it.
Like
and then
looking
the person
down
who's bragging
upon
about
America.
It. Right. But see, I think the thing is that, and I remember hearing this at one of the like study abroad orientations after I came back. Because, coming back, home culture shock is also a thing, especially once you get acclimated to living in a place where like everything's new, everything's cool, everything's exciting. There's a big honeymoon period. And I think because you were only in Austria for that one semester, the whole time probably felt like a honeymoon period.
Mm-hmm.
For me,
as I mentioned before, I felt like I was just getting into it when I left.
Right. And for me, towards the last 2 months, I mean, obviously some of it had to do with like relationship problems with the girl I was seeing at the time. But like, I think the honeymoon period was over and it's starting to set in more for me like, oh shit, I'm not going to be here forever. And that's another big thing with study abroad is you learn how to deal with the impermanence of it and the temporary, it being temporary, but trying to really, I know this will sound cliche and cheesy as well, but trying to take full advantage of it and really just enjoy every day you have there. And the other thing too that I think I really learned that I'm sure you can relate with too is being in a place where you don't always understand everything that's going on around you, I think is really good and can be really eye-opening.
I think humbling. It's a acquired skill too. Like it's hard to be in situations like that and sort of mentally accept that you're just not going to get everything,
Right.
You can get a little self-conscious maybe, or you can feel like you have that FOMO even being around people. But I think it is an actual skill to be around people and accept that you don't know what's going on all the time. And especially when you're with an international audience, where it's like, I think it helps that for us, especially, we've both been in situations where it's like, you almost feel bad being the American or the one that can't fully, like you've had this, I'm sure, plenty in, you talk about it during Easter, but you've had this a lot in Czech Republic, where like, you kind of feel bad that you're like almost forcing people to speak English just for you when everyone there speaks Czech except for you.
Right.
And being that sort and kind of slowing it down. And
it's a shitty feeling, for sure.
Yeah. But I think you also, part of that is also you or anyone, but you specifically being in the Czech Republic, is getting used to being in situations where people are talking and you don't understand it all, but you're still part of it in a weird way, even though you're not actively communicating in that part of the conversation.
Sure. Yeah, and sometimes it's good to just be there.
Yes. Observe, shut
absolutely.
up. It helps you not talk. I think that was a big thing that helped me to be able to, as I ramble on here, it helped me to like not talk a little bit easier, knowing that there's situations where you just can't. Yes. Yeah.
Speaking of that, Jared, I'm going to do an interesting experiment this summer. Don't know how my parents are going to feel about it, but I think I'm going to try to take 2 to 3 days and do a vow of silence and just not talk.
Interesting.
Yeah. We can talk about that later though, because I want to stay on topic. But that just reminded me of that. But
I think I've involuntarily done that just because I spent a lot of time by myself.
Right. But see, the whole reason for that is kind of the same thing: is to listen more. I think we get so quickly in a rut of talking all the time that we forget how to listen. And studying abroad really does open up your ears, and you kind of have to. If you really want to absorb the culture and everything going on, you have to be a good listener.
Especially for a lot of the people that aren't as good of language speakers, especially in our program. Like, not everyone there was like a great German speaker.
Sure.
So you kind of have to learn to stand down a bit. Sorry, what were you about to say?
You're good. So do you have anything else that you'd like to discuss regarding things you've learned in college or abroad?
I think... one more thing. In the classroom, I think maybe we already kind of talked about this, but I think I built, it helps, you mentioned building a good relationship with your classmates, but I think I also, I don't want to speak for you, but I think I am going to, in saying that and I think you also built a great relationship with our German teacher.
Of course.
I think that's hard to do in a short amount of time for me being a semester, but having had Perry for essentially 3 years, and I think that really helps the lesson, is really feeling like you have a good rapport with your teacher, know him. Like, I don't know about you, but like I would joke around in class, and like I would, sometimes like Perry was good at like taking jokes too.
Oh, he was great. He could crack some good jokes too.
Oh yeah. So like sometimes like I would do like a this is classroom. I'm not being an asshole. Like I do like a slight burn, and he like throw it back, and I'm like, oh, I love like it was great.
Right.
And so I think that makes a big difference too. Is not only having that relationship with your classmates, but with the teacher too. And I had a great relationship with, I'd say, all my teachers except for the one that coined my nickname Jart. We didn't really have the best relationship, I would say.
She was a little stuck up though.
Right. It didn't seem like she had the best relationship with many people.
Right. And she was pretty cold to me as well, and finally warmed up to me second semester. I think it was because I was the only familiar face in her like music in Vienna 2 class.
But like all the other teachers, Shakameyer, Sadnet, actually one of the econ teachers, he didn't. Actually, both of them. But that's also, to be fair, I did fall asleep on a pretty regular basis in one of them.
Right. Yeah, that's not going to win you a ton of points. That's for sure.
That's kind of on me. That might be on me.
Right. Just a little, maybe. Yeah.
But like, I think I had a great relationship with Perry, and I think that one makes it easier to go to class, and also helps you be a better student because you understand his teaching style,
for sure,
and how he teaches and what he's looking for and stuff, and it helps you sort of focus your education a little bit more.
And it makes class much more enjoyable, without a doubt.
For sure.
And that's the other thing, and this kind of brings our main segment full circle. So I really appreciate that last tidbit you gave us, because
you betcha.
I started with what we've learned from college and study abroad is really making those relationships, whether they be with your professors, with your fellow classmates. I also think there's a lot of kind of collectivity or working in groups and in teams in college, which is great. Obviously, it's not always awesome to be in group projects depending on who you're working with, but I think there is still a lot to be learned there. And I want to give all of our listeners out there just some tips so hopefully they can make the most out of their college or study abroad experiences. Number one, my first tip is I think everybody should be trying to figure out who they are, but also not be afraid to be themselves, right? I was lucky that I had a lot of friends who were musicians and could play music with them a lot, and it helped me grow as a musician quite a bit. The other thing is be open-minded and don't be afraid to say yes. I mean, you kind of have to do this when you study abroad, but also give this a try, or say that when you're on campus as well. The other thing is to make your college town or your city, also where you study abroad, make it your home. Go out, explore, find new things, try new things. This is best done with friends and also with locals if you're studying abroad. Also, let yourself fall in love with the campus, your friends, your lady friends or your boyfriends. Really embrace it. Embrace it with open arms and let it be a truly life-changing and amazing experience. And the last thing is really just make the most out of it. Enjoy every second you can. There's so much you can learn from it. And the other thing is too, which one thing I love about doing this podcast with you, Jared, is the ability to reflect. And I think when you are in college and when you study abroad, we don't reflect enough. And I think you really learn to appreciate and value the experiences and things you learn through reflecting on the good and the bad, because I think there can be a lot learned from the good and the bad. But moving on, I think we should go to the good for today, which is definitely the song of the pod, which is by my close buddy David, one of his students. Their band is called White Fruit Honey, and the song of this episode is called Hvězdarna, which, do you know what that means, Jared? Did you look it up?
I did not look it up.
You didn't? All right, good. I can give it to you then. Hvězdarna, that's a tough one for me to say.
Hvězdarna.
Is like an observatory or like a planetarium kind of observatory to see the stars is what it means. And I actually have the lyrics pulled up here. So thankfully they were nice enough to put the lyrics up on below the description for the YouTube video. So I have the lyrics, and basically I'll give our listeners the gist of the song, at least according to Google Translate. Now take this with a grain of salt. This is through Google Translate.
There might be some untranslatables in there.
Absolutely. But basically, I think the song is kind of about being together with your friends, looking at the stars at this observatory and just kind of taking in the beauty of everything and really just embracing it, taking it in, which also kind of relates to what we've been talking about today quite a bit.
Yeah.
But let me tell you the story, Jared, of why I chose this song for this week. So I was scrolling through Facebook on the train, actually, on my 6-hour train ride, sitting on the floor, so glorious. and I saw this YouTube video with my buddy David's face on the thumbnail. And I'm like, well,
you stumbled upon this?
Yes, I stumbled upon this on Facebook.
Oh my gosh, I assumed David told you about it or something.
No, he did not tell me about it. And I did tell him, though, I listened to it and I was a big fan. But David actually does a shout out in the beginning of it. Could you play it for our listeners out there, that intro with David talking?
Yeah, hold on. I'm glad you brought that up. I can't probably play more than that because of our I gotta find it. But because I did have a question about that intro, but I'll obviously ask you after here it is.
Hey y'all, this is Kulishek, and I just want to say that White Fruit Honey is the best band that I've ever heard in my life.
He also got a little southern there too.
He did. He did. I like it. I like it. It sounds great.
My question for you regarding that was, what does Kulishek mean?
Kulishek is his nickname.
Okay.
Yeah, it's his nickname. I actually don't know what it means, to be honest with you. I'll have to ask him. I was worried you were going to ask me that. No, he's
I
actually
wrote it
traveling.
down in my notes.
Right.
David calls himself Kulishek, but it's Kulishek.
Kulishek, with a K.
Okay.
He's actually in Italy right now. So
I saw that.
Not super reachable. But shout out to David, first of all, for doing that intro for his students, which I think is a great way to support and encourage your students, which I'm always 100% all for. But it's a great song. I love the guitar in there. Has a nice little melody. I think the lyrics sound really nice in Czech.
Yeah.
It's a pretty song, yeah?
You know who it reminded me of? Have you heard of a band called The Kooks?
Yeah.
That's who it reminded me of.
Okay. The Young Czech Kooks. I'm cool with that. I hope they're cool with that as well.
That's a good name for a band.
Right. That's funny. The Young Czech Kooks. That's great. But yeah, it's absolutely awesome. It's a great song. I think it's very well written. It's very catchy. Yeah. The lyrics sound great. I love the guitar work in there. It's awesome. And I actually realized I believe it's the drummer while I was visiting David in Hradec
that the girl?
Králové. Yeah.
Okay.
Pretty sure her name's Petya, I think, if I remember correctly. But yeah, so I think it's awesome.
We need to talk to David and let them know that they're the song of the pod for episode 94, and that their song is on the Untranslatable Podcast Song of the Pod playlist officially now.
And where can they find that, Jared?
On our YouTube, Untranslatable Podcast, where you can also see this episode minus the first 22 minutes.
Exactly. So to all of our listeners out there, check it out. I think it's a good representation of how pretty the Czech language can sound in song, which is great.
Yeah.
And it's a great song. And these are all students. They're all, I think, like 17, 18, or 19, somewhere around there. And I think they did a fantastic job. So shout out to you guys. White Fruit Honey. Can't say it like David can. It sounds so much smoother
Slipping
when
on
he says
gator
it.
piss. And
but it's absolutely fantastic. Yeah?
I think out of all the Czech music I've heard, I mean, all of it through you, essentially, you made a good point that this is probably the first one I've heard that is the most, I'm going to use a big word here, the most mellifluous.
I think if you wouldn't have prefaced it with that, it would have been fine.
The most
Mellifluous?
There we go.
Is that
it?
Yeah.
The most mellifluous use of the Czech language in music. Because a lot of the other songs we listen to have been, whether it be reggae or rock, are a little bit more aggressive in the tone.
Right.
But this is the first one that really makes
chill.
it sound, and it gives it
peaceful.
A more, yeah. You know, we've talked a lot about in our private life about how it's annoying when people say that German is a harsh language.
Right.
Because then we'll play, say, for example, Winter im Süden, or Winter, I guess, I don't know why I said Winter.
Yeah.
Winter im Süden by Waldorf and Stettler, and it's like, this is not aggressive at all. It's like, you just have to find it. And so, in my mind, I was always like, I mean, Czech, obviously, you can sing with it, but it just doesn't, like, you know, when we compare it to our favorite music language of Spanish, like, it's, you can't compete.
Right.
But it's just like you gotta find the stuff, you know?
Oh, for sure. And Spanish can sound aggressive too. If you listen to like reggaeton where they're like yelling with like a
Essentially a vuvuzela?
No, what's that thing?
What are they yelling with?
Like
bullhorns?
Like, what do you call that thing? I'm totally blanking on it right now. It's like a loudspeaker, like a...
Oh, a bullhorn.
Is that what it's called?
The thing where it's like the horn that you talk into and it like electrically projects. Yeah, it's a bullhorn.
Yeah, it's called a bullhorn. Interesting. Okay.
I think so.
Interesting. Anyways,
that's what they called it at school, in elementary school, because they used those to call out. Yeah, bullhorn. You're talking about, you hold it, there's a little trigger thingy.
Yeah,
that's a bullhorn.
Okay, interesting. Okay.
Or megaphone. They also call it megaphone.
That's what I've heard before. Okay. Nice.
I used to call it a bullhorn.
I like that better.
I think that's a brand. Now that I just Googled it, I think that's actually a brand.
Okay.
Yeah,
hey,
Bullhorn's a specific brand.
Just like Kleenex.
Right.
Exactly. So check that out on our Twitter, Untranslatable1. White Fruit Honey, Hvězdarna. Cannot say that word for the life of me today. But speaking of Czech words that I have difficulty pronouncing, that leads us to our Czech word of the pod today, which is... Zkušenosti. Any idea, Jared, what zkušenosti means?
My first thought would be like, excuse me, or something like that.
I'm gonna let Google Translate do it because I butchered it.
Zkušenosti.
Yep, there you go. Zkušenosti.
You did it well. You just put the emphasis in the wrong spot.
Right. I always do that. My colleagues at school have mentioned that. Because in English, we put the stress in different syllables. In Czech, it usually falls on the first. But this word, Jared, it means experience. Because I think the big things you learn in college and study abroad, a lot of it comes from experience. Yes, you learn a ton in the classroom as well, but I think it's that experience outside of the classroom that really makes it something memorable.
Mm-hmm. Speaking of experience, I've been trying to experience some Spanish. And you also mentioned emphasis. That's been a real struggle for me because what I've learned is that the accent marks in Spanish words they don't tell you how to say like the A or I or something. It's where you put the emphasis in the word.
Where the stress is, exactly.
Right. That really throws me off. Like there are a lot of words where I gotta like really think about it before I say it, because just like the way that I would read it as an English speaker puts emphasis automatically in a different spot.
Sure, absolutely.
So my Spanish word, I don't have a specific one, but I've learned so much, and I've been trying not to also just like ask for like a random word to use for a Spanish word of the pod. I want to actually talk like words that I've learned in my lessons.
Okay.
One that I like that I think could get a lot of use. I want to know if you know it. Ayuda. Or
does that mean
ayuda.
help?
Yes. Wow.
All right.
So ayuda or ayúdame, which is help me, or ayúdalos, which is, do you know what ayúdalos means? If ayúdame is help me, ayúdalos is help them.
Help them. Okay. Yeah. See, that's a tricky thing with Spanish is the verb conjugations. I still have a lot of problems with those.
Sydney said she was mad that you told me that the Spanish conjugations are so hard. She doesn't think they are, and she thinks that now that's in my head that they're that they're difficult.
I'm already on her bad side. Watch out. Oh damn. To me, they were more difficult than German. I will say that, but that's just me.
Okay. I mean,
but I also
probably
have
agree
more
with you,
exposure to German.
I was about to say, I'd agree with you, but that's someone that can speak way more German than Spanish, obviously.
Can you do me a favor, because you have access to this and I really don't. I think what you need to do the next time you have your profesora or your señorita with you, I think you should try to have her speak Spanish to you and do like 30 minutes where you guys do something together, cooking or something. Have her speak Spanish the whole time. I guarantee you there will be a shit ton you will understand based on context. Okay. You should have her do that. But the key is she needs to speak, well, I mean, she probably already knows, but she needs to speak slowly, repeat a lot of things. Like, you know, if like you're talking and you're cooking would be a really good one because there'd be a lot of vocabulary you could learn. And you could be...
And I do a lot of cooking.
Exactly.
Well.
And you know, it would be like where I have, you know, my little teacup here, my Christmas market Weihnachtsmarkt cup. You know, she could say, you know, give me the cup and repeat using that word cup. And I guarantee you'd learn a lot of words. I'd like you to see if she'd be down for that. And then I would like to hear about your experience on it. Because I think it's a super huge advantage, especially to have a significant other who is fluent in another language.
I'm sure she'd be down for that. And I like also, I mean, she's not a teacher. So I do like for getting like teaching tips from you who actually knows how to properly teach a language.
Right.
And I'm sure she'd be down for that. I don't know why she wouldn't be.
Right.
She already randomly speaks Spanish around me anyway. So.
Yes. Dude, you found yourself a keeper, man.
But yeah, so I'm going on with the lessons and it's been exciting. I like it.
Nice.
And I think one day I could really start to be conversational. She did say that soon, maybe in a couple weeks or so, she's going to start having me write like a paragraph about like what I did with my day or something like that.
Oh, that's good. And that's a good way to practice past tense. That's really good. That's smart.
Well,
Jared, that's right. Well, now it's time for a couple jokes. So here we go, Jared. Oh no, I won't do that one. I won't do that one. Okay.
Does it have to just study abroad related? Something about studying abroad?
No, it would have been a really clear, too easy jab at University of Michigan. I'm not going to do it. I'm not going to do it. So here you go, Jared. Why did the sun skip college?
Why's that?
Because it already has 1 million degrees.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right? Okay. Why shouldn't we encourage people to go to college?
I mean, I can think of a lot of reasons that aren't jokes, but...
Well, Jared, because there's barely enough parking as it is.
Oh, man. That's actually very true.
It is. That one. Sometimes the best comedy lies in the truth, that's for sure. So, Jared, what did the buffalo say to his son when he left for college?
I don't know. What did he say?
Bye, son.
Ooh, that's good.
Right? Like bison.
The same thing?
I don't think so. But hey, for that
They're
joke,
in the
we'll
same
take
family.
it. Yeah, for sure. They're both huge furry animals.
What do you call it? Bovine? They're both... Is that what you call it?
I
no,
think
that's
so.
a horse. That might be a horse.
No, horse would be a equestrine.
Equine.
Equine. Thank you. There you go.
Yeah, bovine are different cows and oxes and stuff. So
there
yeah,
you
it
go.
is a bovine.
So yeah. Well, we hope you all have learned something through what we have learned through
betcha.
college and studying abroad. We hope you've enjoyed. And I think the biggest thing to kind of wrap up our episode today with a quote would be embrace new things and take them with an open mind, with open arms, and just try to see what's out there for you. Because with college and studying abroad, there's so much you can learn, but you cannot really learn any of it if you're not open and willing to try new things and learn new things.
I'm not even going to try. I was going to try to say new things in Spanish, but I don't fully remember how to say new, but I know thing is cosa.
Nueve cosas.
Nueve cosas.
Or would it be, it would probably be cosas nuevas.
Yeah, I guess so, maybe.
Because in Spanish they do that. Yeah, there you go. New things are our additional Spanish word of the pod for
For example, me
for-
knowing how to say new things in Spanish is a new thing.
Exactly. Absolutely. Good work, Jared. I think you deserve yourself a ham horn right there, buddy. So we dear Lord. So we hope you've
Get
enjoyed
used
this
to that.
episode. Let us know. I know, right? Let us know what you guys have learned from your time in college, studying abroad, or also just through life. We'd love to hear about your life experiences. Shoot us an email, untranslatablepodcast@gmail.com. Slide into our Twitter DMs, untranslatable1, especially to check out our song of the pod by the White Fruit Honeys, which is a fantastic song.
You betcha.
And also, don't forget, give us a 5-star review on iTunes or Stitcher. You could even pop down your college or study abroad experiences there. We'd be happy to shout you out during the episode as well. So we hope this has been an exciting and fun episode for all of you. As usual, we had too much fun, which is one of the reasons why we do this.
Yes.
Another reason, though, too, is that we are just so flattered and humbled to have listeners in 18-plus countries now. It's absolutely amazing. We thank you all so much. And as we say here at the Untranslatable Podcast, Děkujeme a muchas gracias.